So what if I told you there's a financial blueprint out there? One that could let you quit your job, not just a little early, but decades early? Today, we're going to break down the FIRE movement. It's a plan that is completely rewriting the rules of work and retirement. And really, at its core, it's about one thing: getting your time back.
You know, for our parents' and grandparents' generations, the script was pretty much set in stone. You work for 40 years, save a little bit, maybe get a pension, and then you finally get to live your life at 65. It was a reliable path for sure, but it felt like the only path. Well, as this slide says, a quiet revolution is happening, and believe me, it is changing everything.
And this is the question that the entire movement is built on. What if that old script could be completely torn up? What if you could grab the timeline and decide for yourself when your working years are actually over?
Okay, so here's the core idea. FIRE isn't some vague dream about winning the lottery. Nope, it's a straight-up mathematical formula. The whole goal is to build up a portfolio of investments that generates enough income to pay for your lifestyle forever. When you hit that magic point, work becomes a choice, not a necessity.
All right, so how do you actually build this freedom machine? Well, it all starts right here in phase 1, laying the foundation. This is where you figure out your exact target, and you take total control over where every single one of your dollars is going. The very first step, and this is a big one, is to calculate your FIRE number. This isn't just a wish or a dream. It is a concrete number. It's the number that tells you exactly when you've crossed the finish line into financial independence.
And the formula to find this number? It's actually surprisingly simple. It's based on something called the 4% rule, which is just a guideline that comes from tons of market data on how much you can safely withdraw in retirement. To find your number, you just take your ideal annual spending and you multiply it by 25. That's it.
So let's put that into perspective. If you figure out you can live a really good life on, say, $40,000 a year, then your FIRE number is $1 million. That's your target. Once you have $1 million invested, the 4% rule says you can safely pull out that 40 grand each year to live on and theoretically never run out of money.
Now, you're probably thinking a huge salary is the only way to get to that number quickly. But this right here, this is the revolutionary idea at the heart of the FIRE movement. It is not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. Your savings rate is, without a doubt, the single most powerful lever you have. And if you want proof, just look at this slide. This is what really changes the game. Look at this. Someone saving a traditional 10% of their income is going to work for over 50 years. But if you can crank that savings rate up to 50%, the timeline just collapses to 17 years. And at 75%, you are looking at financial independence in as little as 7 years. This is the math that changes everything.
But before you can really hit the accelerator, you have to cut the anchors. High-interest debt, we're talking credit cards here, is an absolute emergency. I mean, think about it. Trying to earn 10% in the market while you're paying 20% interest is like trying to run up an escalator that's going down. You are guaranteed to lose. This debt has to be the first thing to go.
Okay, so once those anchors are cut, we get to move into phase 2, framing the structure. With your debt gone and your savings rate cranked up high, it's time to build the actual engine of your wealth machine. And we're going to use the most efficient tools out there.
And that means being ruthless about maximizing your tax advantage accounts. First up, your 401k, especially if you get an employer match. That is literally free money, you have to take it. Then, an IRA, or individual retirement account. And if you have access to one, the health savings account, the HSA, is the ultimate FIRE tool. It has this triple tax advantage that is it's unmatched anywhere else.
So what do you actually put in these accounts? Well, the whole philosophy is to keep it simple. Low cost, broad market index funds. You do not need to be a stock-picking genius. You just need to be consistent. You automate your investments so you're buying regularly, no matter what the market's doing that day.
Okay, so now we're entering phase 3, the mid-game. Your portfolio is starting to grow, it's getting exciting, and your focus starts to shift to 2 new challenges: turbocharging your income and solving a problem that's pretty unique to early retirees.
And that problem is called the gap. Let's say you do it. You retire at 45. That's amazing. But the government says you can't touch the money in your 401k or traditional IRA until you're almost 60 without getting hit with a huge penalty. So the question is, how do you pay for those 15 years in between?
This is where a pretty advanced strategy called the Roth conversion ladder comes in. It sounds complicated, but here's the basic idea. Each year in retirement, you convert a chunk of your traditional retirement funds into a Roth IRA. You have to pay income tax on that chunk for that year. But once you do, a 5-year clock starts ticking. After 5 years, that specific piece of money can be withdrawn completely tax-free and penalty-free. By doing this year after year, you basically create a pipeline of accessible cash to live on. Pretty clever, right?
And that brings us to phase 4, crossing the finish line and beyond. This is what happens when you finally hit your number and you start to transition into this brand new life of freedom and flexibility.
But you gotta know, retire doesn't have to mean just sitting on a beach all day, unless you want it to. FIR is a whole spectrum. Maybe you go for full FIR, where work is totally optional. Or maybe you like the sound of barista FIR, where your investments cover all the necessities and a fun, low-stress part-time job pays for the extras. There's even Coast FIR, where you've saved enough early on that you can just coast, letting your nest egg grow on its own. The whole point is having options.
Because that's what this entire blueprint is really about. It's not about hoarding a giant pile of money just for the sake of it. It's about what that money can actually buy you.
And this quote it gets to the very heart of the entire movement. The goal is freedom. The freedom to choose how you spend your days, to be with your family, to chase your passions, to live life on your own terms, not on a schedule that somebody else dictates.
So, the path is laid out. The math is clear. This is a blueprint for trading a few years of intense focus for decades of real freedom. The only question left is, when are you going to start building?